Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and discovering that every refrigerator on Earth has stopped working. The light still turns on. The motor still makes a sound. But nothing inside is cold. At first, it feels like a small inconvenience. Your milk is getting warm, your ice cream is melting, and your frozen dinner is no longer frozen. But spoiled food would only be the beginning. Within hours, supermarkets, restaurants, farms, and hospitals would all face the same question. How long could modern civilization survive without refrigeration? Let us begin inside your kitchen. An unopened refrigerator can normally keep food safe for about 4 hours during a power outage. A full freezer may remain cold for roughly 48 hours if nobody opens the door. But this time, refrigeration is not temporarily without power. It has disappeared completely. During the first few hours, people would rush to cook their most perishable food. Milk, seafood, meat, eggs, and leftovers would become the priority. Coolers and bags of ice would sell out quickly, but ice would only delay the problem. Without freezers and refrigerated warehouses, producing and storing more ice would become difficult. By the end of the first day, supermarkets would look very different. Frozen food sections would be closed. Refrigerated shelves would be empty. Restaurants would reduce their menus or close because many of their ingredients could no longer be stored safely. However, the biggest disruption would happen far beyond your kitchen. Modern food travels through a temperature-controlled network called the cold chain. Milk is cooled after collection. Meat is chilled after processing. Fish may be frozen shortly after it is caught. Refrigerated trucks, warehouses, ships, supermarkets, and restaurants all work together to keep food safe. Remove refrigeration, and this invisible chain breaks. Trucks could still carry food, but many products would spoil before reaching their destination. Ships could still cross oceans, but frozen cargo would not survive the journey. Fresh meat and dairy products would become more local, seasonal, and expensive. Supermarkets would not disappear, but their shelves would change. You would see more rice, flour, pasta, beans, canned food, dried fruit, nuts, oil, salt, and shelf-stable drinks. People would shop more often and buy smaller amounts. Instead of storing a week of fresh food, families might buy only what they plan to eat that day. This may sound like a completely new lifestyle, but for most of human history, it was normal. Before electric refrigerators, people dried meat, fish, fruit, and herbs. They preserved food with salt or sugar. They smoked meat, fermented vegetables, and stored food in cool underground cellars. In colder regions, people collected natural ice during winter and kept it inside insulated ice houses. Some of that ice could last into the summer. These methods did more than preserve food, they shaped entire cuisines. Fresh milk became cheese or yogurt, cabbage became fermented vegetables, meat became salted or smoked, fruit became jam. If refrigeration disappeared today, these older techniques would return quickly. Companies would produce more canned, dried, fermented, and shelf-stable food. Local farms and markets would become more important. But food would not be the only concern. Hospitals and pharmacies also depend on refrigeration. Many vaccines and medicines must remain within controlled temperature ranges. If they become too warm, they may lose effectiveness. Emergency generators would not solve the problem if the refrigeration equipment itself had disappeared. Medical facilities would need temporary coolers and ice, while manufacturers rush to develop new storage systems. This medical disruption could become more dangerous than losing frozen food. Fortunately, humanity would still know how refrigeration works. Engineers could rebuild compressors, cooling systems, warehouses, and refrigerated vehicles. Hospitals and essential food facilities would probably receive new equipment first. Homes would have to wait. During that waiting period, humanity would move backward and forward at the same time. We would revive ancient preservation methods while rebuilding modern technology. Diets would become more seasonal, local production would become more valuable, and people would finally notice the enormous system behind an ordinary glass of cold milk. So, could humanity survive without refrigeration? Yes, humans lived without electric refrigerators for thousands of years. But modern civilization would change immediately. Within 4 hours, household food would begin becoming unsafe. Within 1 day, restaurants and supermarkets would face major losses. Within several days, food supply chains and medical storage systems would be under intense pressure. The refrigerator may look like an ordinary box in the corner of your kitchen, but it is connected to farms, factories, trucks, ships, supermarkets, and hospitals. It does not simply keep food cold. It quietly holds part of modern civilization together.